Hi, I'm Anahita Uberoi, and I'm delighted to be part of the Sikh Sanctuary Talks. This initiative is something that's been put together by the Sanctuary Nature Foundation and BookMyShow to commemorate 50 years of Earth Day. I'm not a conservationist. I'm not an environmentalist. I'm just a person who loves nature, and I come from the world of the performing arts. And the world that I belong to, whether it's the performing arts or any kind of art for that matter, even the fine arts, um, we are a group of people who are eternally curious and always looking for inspiration. And we have this really long standing relationship with nature. It's a quiet bond that has existed since time immemorial. Some of the finest paintings have been nature based. You've had some of the finest movies that have the might of nature as its central theme or speaks about the circle of life. Poetry and nature are interlinked. The relationship between music and sounds of nature has been spoken of right through time. Theatre also, you've had entire plays that have a natural phenomenon as the central theme, or has always had many, many references made to nature. Um, and while folk art and folk theatre have a very obvious link, and you see it in what they present, even as we start moving away from nature based themes and start getting a little more urbane, we still, as artists, have this link to nature, and it always tends to inspire us, and our relationship makes us believe in the importance of being grounded. So even if your ideas are really lofty, it's very important for your art form to be grounded so that it resonates with people who are either watching it or reading it, or reacting to it. I'm going to read a poem that's been written by one of India's most well-known poets, contemporary poets. Her name is Arundhati Subramaniam, and she has written a poem about mud or soil or earth or whatever name you want to call it. And when she decided to write this poem, she wanted it to be more about the universality of mud. Um, the poem is called Mitti. As a child, I ate mud. It tasted of grit and peat and wild churning and something I could never find a name for. Later, I became a moon gazer, always squinting through windows, believing freedom was aerial, until I figured that the moon was a likely mud gazer, longing for the thick sludge of gravity, the promiscuous thrill of touch, the license to make, break, remake. And so I uncovered the old role of poets to be messengers between moon and mud, and began to learn the many languages of earth that have nothing to do with nations and atlases, and everything to do with the ways of earwigs, the pilgrim trail of roots, and the great longing of life to hold and be held, and the irrepressible human love of naming, ooze, mire, manure, humus, dirt, silt, mold, loam, soil, slush, clay, shit, manu, matope, baro, tin, knee, luto, fango. All have their place, I found, in the democracy of tongues. None superior, none untranslatable, all reminders of the anthem of muck of which we are made. Except when June clouds capsize over an Arabian sea, and a sleeping city awakens to an ache so singular that for just a moment it could have no name other than that where sound meets scent, and a slop of matter meets a slick, lunatic wetness. Mitti, just that. Nothing else will do. So when I read this poem that she had written, I felt that she looked at mud as a work of art, which brings me to my second point, and that is that nature in itself is art. It is poetry. It is literature. It's not about just inspiring artists. It is art in itself. So for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been directing all the Sanctuary Nature Foundation events. And every time we get to the wildlife photography segment, I stare in awe at the photographs. And apart from the fact that they are photographs taken by some of the best photographers, I'm still amazed by the fact that the subject itself uh, is art. It represents nothing else except itself, and it is art. There is graphic art in a curled millipede, and precise choreography in a moving starfish. A cruel and sad piece of prose in an image of elephants that are crossing the railway track with a train approaching. Or the sheer art that you can see in this picture of a chameleon peeping through a ripped leaf of the same color. There is wild drama in this Brahmini kite flying at a purple heron whose prey is what the kite wants. We just have to relax and take a look at the effects of nature on all of us. For the longest time, psychologists have been talking about these beautiful effects of nature on all of us. It helps calm us, it heals us. People speak of forest bathing. But what also exists is the ability for creative unleashing when you are exposed to nature. So it's no wonder that you'll see writers going off into the middle of nowhere to write and be inspired. A lot of creative people step away from the city because their rate of creativity is much faster if they're surrounded by nature. I know that often when we are rehearsing for plays, we try and see if we can all leave the city. And we've found that we just achieve much more work and are that much more creative when we've got nature around us. And when I say creativity or the importance of that, it's not just for people in the performing arts or in the art world. It could be anyone. You need to unleash your creative side if you are a lawyer or a doctor or someone who's in the IT world. So it's surprising and sad that we have, knowing all of this, we have allowed the abuse of our planet to bring us to where we are right now. I hope that this phase passes and that we all come out altered. And some of us will be altered for the better, some for the worse. But I hope that everyone realizes this link and this desperate need to protect our planet and to help repair it. I'm going to end by reading this little bit of writing that was put down by an artist from Washington in the US. It's His name is Joe Miller, and he says, if the Earth were only a few feet in diameter, floating a few feet above a field somewhere, people would come from everywhere to marvel at it. People would walk around it. marveling at its big pools of water, its little pools, and the water flowing between. People would marvel at the bumps on it and the holes in it. They would marvel at the very thin layer of gas surrounding it and the water suspended in the gas. The people would marvel at all the creatures walking around the surface of the ball and the creatures in the water. The people would declare it as sacred because it was the only one, and they would protect it so that it would not be hurt. The ball would be the greatest wonder known, and people would come to pray to it, to be healed, to gain knowledge, to know beauty, and to wonder how it could be. People would love it and defend it with their lives because they would somehow know that their lives could be nothing without it. If the earth were only a few feet in diameter.